And good afternoon. Welcome to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host. And this is Monday. Welcome to Monday. This is the beginning of a new week, and we're up and running in paradise, of course, right? So we're still very blessed. Thank you all so much for tuning in this afternoon. Medical Mondays brought to you by Health City. That's what we do every Monday, and no different today. So have some, good folk from Health City that came on down from the beautiful East End to bring us the tidings. Hi,
Hi,
Tiffany.
hi, Catherine. Thank you for having us in the studio again. I think I always have this idea in my head. The three wise men came from the east, and the three of us are in studio today.
So
So
we're three wise
we're three
women.
wise ladies. So today unfortunately, one of our main guests for today was to be Jennifer Weber from the Cayman Islands Cancer Society, because
Right.
we wanted to invite her on to talk about the annual Cancer Thrivers dinner, which just took place last week, Thursday. And Health City has been a sponsor of that event for several years. And we, last year, we had to take a break because obviously COVID, we had lockdown. The Cancer Society wasn't able to host that event for cancer survivors in the Cayman Islands. So the society came up with the idea that, let's do something for them anyway. And so we came on board to support Foster's gift certificates that went out to each of these patients or survivors, as
Right.
we like to call them, thrivers now, right, Dr. Benito?
Right.
Not just
Right.
surviving, but thriving. Um, and so the fact that they were able to host the event last Thursday and celebrate this milestone for these various patients who have gone through various challenges. We wanted to bring her on to talk about it, but Dr. Benita was there with her team of oncologists and oncology nurse team. We were representing and enjoyed the event as well. So she will be able to talk about that as well as her work at Health City, being with Health City from the very inception of opening
Right.
as our consultant medical oncologist on our team. So we're happy today to talk about that, and also we want to say congratulations to all of you out there who might be listening, who attended last week, or maybe you didn't go but you are a cancer survivor. Give yourself that extra hug, pat on
Right.
the back, celebrate the milestone. You've gone through the challenges. It's a challenging illness to have, and I'm sure Dr. Benita will be able to say more. But thanks again for having us. We're here to talk about these issues and bring awareness to those who would like to learn more from us.
All right. That's great. So thank you so much. That was Tiffany Dixon Ebanks. She is tell us who you are, please.
Oh, so I'm the Global Sales and Marketing Manager at Health City, Cayman Islands.
All
So
right.
I work with the business development team, don't work with patients, and I'm not a doctor and I can't diagnose anything like Dr. Benita can, but I can point you in the right direction
Right.
to, if you do have an issue, you send us an email, you give us a call, and we can definitely put you in connection with the correct doctors, technicians, and nurses to help you.
All right. Well, there you go. I mean, a whole team is what makes makes everything successful anyway, right? So
Mhm.
I always say that about Shamari Scott when he comes in, and I'm like, you're gonna be performing surgery soon. I know, like he listens very well, and he knows all the doctors. He knows all of what they do and everything. And I think the same thing. So it just takes a complement of a team, and Health City does have that. And if you ever are blessed to have had an opportunity to, go to Health City for something, you do know that as well. You feel it from the time you walk through the door until you leave, and I for one really appreciate that for sure. Healthy citizens are the greatest asset any country can have. That was said by Winston Churchill. That is the truth, isn't it? If our citizens are healthy, then our country is healthy. Yeah. So it's such a huge undertaking, really, to provide top-notch service when it comes to medical, right, and taking care of our bodies and everything. So I want to thank you all so much. Just a shout out to Health City today for that. and all the hard work that you guys do over there. Dr. Benita Benoit, who's a consultant medical oncologist at Health City. You're here today, and I think this is the first time I've met you. I'm sure you've been on Star before, Straight Talk before, yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the
But my
previous location.
right, and probably the previous host. But this is my first time meeting you, and welcome. You've been with us 7 years, so you're one of us, I think.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. Exactly.
I feel so, I mean, such a warm society and community, you feel accepted
Right,
straight away. So
right.
it's not an issue.
So tell us a little bit about this Cancer Thrivers Dinner. And I love that. I love the new take on it as opposed to Survivor, Thriver. Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so we call someone a cancer survivor from the day she or he is diagnosed. So you don't have to have such, you don't have to have the cancer cured or be years away from the diagnosis to be called a survivor.
Okay.
So from the day you're diagnosed, you are a survivor. But in Cayman, actually, the last couple of dinners that we had, we thought we should use a better term, a more positive term of being a thriver, because survival is just about, you're just about keeping your head above the water kind of
Right.
a thing.
Right.
Thrive is a stronger word, but you are kind of prosperous, you are flourishing.
Right.
And that's what we want all our cancer patients to do. So not just survive, get fit for day by day, but to add meaning to each day and live their life fully. I mean, that's not just doesn't apply just to cancer survivors or thrivers, to
Right.
everyone.
Right. So I'm listening to you, and I'm saying, sometimes when people say, "How you doing?" I'm saying, "I'm surviving, child." Now I'm gonna say, "I'm thriving," because thriving is a very different word, right? And it's a different feeling, and it's living your life to the fullest, and it's not just getting by, like you say, keeping your head above water. So that is really good. Just to have that term as that's what I'm doing with my life right now. And for such a thing to happen to you and your family, obviously, positivity is paramount, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now this is the work that you do every day. So this particular event that we're going to talk about today, you know, is just one small part of your work. So talk to us a little bit about your work.
And so I am a medical oncologist. That means I'm involved in, most of all patients with cancer at some point of their treatment would see a medical oncologist. So as you know, oncology is composed of various specialties. So you have the surgeon, the surgical oncologist, you have the radiation oncologist who gives radiation, and the medical oncologist, someone who plans your systemic therapy, what we call it. So what you get as it may be chemotherapy, immunotherapy, hormone therapy, targeted therapy. So we are always there in the middle of things and kind of work as a team with the radiation and surgical oncologist. So we do not have radiation here on island yet. Hopefully, LCT will fill in that gap soon next year. By next year, we have our own radiation center. But we do have a team of specialized surgeons at Health City who help me with the work. So every patient that we see, we discuss together in our team board and by each case, because no patient is the same,
Right.
no cancer is the same. So it has to be, what do you call, it's not like we individualize each patient and their treatment.
Right.
So that's what I do in Health City. So we have an oncology chemotherapy unit, a daycare unit as we call it, with my team of nurses. I also have a junior medical oncologist with me right now, who's a new addition to our team, Dr. Praveen. And together we take care of patients, so who are at various stages of their treatment. So if someone needs chemo, we give it, but then if someone needs surgery, we direct them to the surgeon. Or if they need radiation or some kind of niche treatment overseas, we make the referrals and we basically guide the treatment.
Okay. So basically, you are, I guess, your team kind of works with the patient throughout the process of them getting their treatment.
Yes, from it may be something from me after their diagnosis, but some come with symptoms and we from diagnosis to being a survivor.
Okay. Right.
Thriver.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I always ask this to the doctors when I talk to them about their specialities. What made you want to do this, and was it something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, kind of. I always wanted to be a doctor from the child time I was a child, but I think it's because I had four of my grandparents. I saw them suffer from cancer,
Okay.
and I lost two of them before I became 10 years of age.
Oh wow.
So that time, from the very young age, the C word was a dreaded word in our household.
Right.
So I guess that's why when I became a doctor, I started leaning towards oncology.
Okay. So that leads me to another question. I always love that. I love when one question leads me to another. It just makes my job easier. When you said that, the C word, it's such a scary word. It's such a big word. It's so, it's devastating for families. But I think one of the things that you were saying before we came on, I think we'll talk about that, is that the focus is more on an early detection and treatment because it doesn't have to be that in a lot of cases, right?
Right, right. So, yeah, early detection saves lives, as we know, and not just about saving life, like preventing a cancer from becoming advanced to stage four and thereby maybe incurable. We are also looking at less intense treatments, less harsh treatments. If you diagnose a breast cancer at stage four, of course, it's incurable. But then you have to go through a whole lot of chemotherapy, hormone therapy, and the works. So
Right.
if it's stage one, you can get away with just surgery, maybe not even chemotherapy. So
Okay.
there's a world of difference between, a stage one cancer and stage four cancer.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we cannot detect all cancers early. Some cancers are hidden, like they're notorious that they don't produce any symptoms when they are, in early stages. But there's always one thing that I would like to emphasize: please listen to your body.
Okay.
So you know your body best. You know what your body looks like, or like maybe that's how your breasts look like, or how your bowel habits are. Any kind of change in your body, you have to bring it to attention of a doctor,
Right.
because you never know what could turn out to be cancer, what could not, be something else. So,
Right.
so there are some warning signs that people should listen to your body, and people should examine their body on a regular basis more closely. We can, to some extent, detect most cancers before they are quite advanced.
Okay. So I kind of what I'm getting from that is that it's not easy to know if you might have one of those cancers that can hide. But if you're paying attention to what's going on with your body and you bring it to the attention of your physician, then they can find out.
Right.
So there are blood tests or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Right. This is I'm talking about symptoms here, but this is apart from all the screening tests that we have. So we have few cancers where you have the tests that can detect them early, like of course the mammogram for breast cancer, pap smear for cervical cancer, colonoscopy, and you have the prostate PSA test. But there are a few of them like that, but most of these cancers we do not have a screening test.
Okay.
And it's also important to know your family history, because that way, knowing your family history can make you more aware of certain patterns in your family.
Right.
And why we could do some tests earlier than usual and detect cancers early, or your tendency to have cancers.
Can I ask you also, and this, I mean, this could be a myth, but generally, so it doesn't matter because when you fill out the questionnaires and you say, if you had cancer in your family, is it generally on the side of your mom or it doesn't?
It could be both.
It could be, but and so there's no larger chance that it's your mom. It's
Not really, because you get one gene from your dad and the other pair from mom, right? So depending on whichever gene has that cancer gene or whatever, it could be the dad or mom. So there's no propensity.
okay. So in that case, then would you suggest people screen early, just
Yeah, I mean,
do regular checkups to find out certain things?
it's important to know your family history, if possible, at least two generations, starting from your grandfather's side,
Right.
and then think like if there is an increase, like my side. I know I have a lot of relatives with cancer, but I do know that those don't follow a certain pattern. So all of them had different kinds of cancer. Some were smokers, so that's why they got cancer.
Okay.
So I know that there is no direct pattern, but suppose you have, your grandmother had ovarian cancer,
Right.
and one of your maternal aunts on the same side had breast cancer, and then you have a niece or a cousin who's got ovarian cancer, then that's a pattern.
Okay.
So that pattern is not something that you can easily recognize, because we know how to do about it. So if you have a history you think you have a strong family history, it's important to run it that by your GP or a doctor so that they can see if there is a pattern.
Okay.
Sometimes it's all related to smoking, heavy smoking leading to lung cancer. Lung cancer is not really familial or hereditary, but there
Right.
are certain cancers, uterine cancers, colon cancer, breast, ovarian, prostate cancers that could be, familial. So it's important to know that.
Right. Well, I mean, for instance, I know a family where the mom had breast cancer. The son ended up having lung cancer, and he wasn't a smoker, and it was connected to him being exposed to certain machinery and his youth. You know what I mean? Like on the boats and stuff like that. So is that kind of coincidental, or was maybe the gene existed? We
Yeah,
just don't know.
maybe the son's case, as I said, lung is not a common familial cancer, and especially if you have familial cancer, you find that happening in younger people. So the mother, I don't know the mother's age. The mother was young enough to be a familial cancer. Usually it happens before the age of 40 or 50.
Yeah. She passed on before that. It was so long ago that even breast cancer was like a death sentence at that point. But now it's very different. Yeah.
No, the C word is not dreaded. I mean, it is still dreaded, but it's not a death sentence anymore.
Right. Okay. All right. So now I know some of the cancers that we're talking. I mean, you work with a lot of female cancers, right? Female type of cancers, or just
Oh,
across the board.
across the board, yeah, both sexes, yeah. So it doesn't differentiate, we know breast cancer happens in females and prostate in men, but breast cancer can happen also in men.
Right. Yeah.
So
I know we're very aware of a case here in Canada that happened, and that was and how is that how is that even like that's a different type of thing, right? That's very rare.
it is rare, but it's not so rare as we think. So you could have one male breast cancer for every 100 female breast cancers.
Okay.
So it's not so rare as we think. Men have breast tissue too. And most of the factors that play a role in female breast cancer can lead to male breast cancer too. So
Okay. All right. And so what are some of the things that you do at Health City in terms of, I guess, early detection for cancer?
yeah, so we have our executive health checkup program, which is kind of a package for general health. And we
Right.
have that done, and we have specialists seeing you, like internists and other specialists seeing you.
Right.
Basically, so you have the entire, the panel of blood work, and that includes some cancer markers too. And then you see a specialist who then takes your history. So the history is more important than the reports itself, right? So
Okay.
when someone sees an internist as a part of their executive health checkup, they go through the detailed family history, they look at the screening tests they've had, so if you're due for a mammogram, you're sent it up for a mammogram, pap smear, and there's specific tests based on what you need for your age and your history. And thereby we come across a lot of diagnoses, So because there are people who go for executive health checkup not knowing that they are anemic. So they pick up the hemoglobin is low and then they haven't noticed anything different. Then that's when you do the test and say they're iron deficient. Then you do it leads to a stool test for blood and you find blood in the stools and then you get a colonoscopy and then you find a cancer hidden there.
Okay. So it's
So
kind of one thing connected to the other. And so that's once again, I think we talk a lot with Health City about the executive health checks, how important that is, because it may seem simple on the surface, but it's all of the kind of investigations that continue based on one thing.
right. So
Yeah.
it need not everyone need to have a long a big panel of investigations, but sometimes you just do, you have a cardiac echo and then echo shows up fluid in the lung, and that's probably how you pick up something, abnormal.
Okay.
So these are important, and then yeah, so that's how most patients will come forward. That's how we screen for cancers.
So what do you think in Cayman, what you found in the last 7 years that could be a like problematic and could help, maybe detect earlier, like maybe some of the patterns in what we do, like as a society even.
Yeah, so the pattern of cancers in Cayman is almost is what we find in the West in the what you call the affluent society cancers. So that includes breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, uterine cancers,
Okay.
and these are the most common cancers seen in affluent societies.
Okay.
And the causes of that most often is you cannot pinpoint one, but some of the risk factors are common. Like there could be obesity is one risk factor, which
Okay.
could potentially be common to that may be related to higher dietary fat intake.
Okay.
So probably in our food patterns that we follow here, that could be one aspect. More meat, less vegetables, more fat kind of a diet. But I would not say that is the reason, because you cannot just pinpoint one cancer. This is why you got the cancer. It's not
Right.
possible.
Of course. But I mean, it's good to make sense, though. You know what I mean? It's good to kind of look at to make the comparisons, because that's what you do. Obviously, you do that, not us, right? But if we're able to listen to what you're saying, and it does make sense, you know what I mean? It's not that you're trying to pinpoint, well, that's what happened, but if you're able to look at possibly introducing other things in your diet or changing some lifestyle things that will mirror another, another kind of community or whatever, then the outcome could possibly be different than what it is. Now, the question I would then ask is, when you say that the cancers that you see here are more from like your affluent, what would be the other cancers that you don't see, and what would be the difference?
Right. So we don't see a lot of what you call head and neck cancers, cervical cancers. In this community, I think it's because of earlier PAP screening.
Okay, okay.
And again, the risk factors for those are quite different, and they're usually seen in what do you call less affluent communities. So you
Right.
have the HPV infection,
Right.
more common, and you have this tobacco chewing and all that. Those
Okay.
kind of head and neck and cervical cancers are quite low. Incidence is quite low.
What is that word you're saying?
Cervical cancer?
No, the first one.
Head and neck.
Head and neck.
Head and
Okay,
neck. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
So those are, where I come from, where I train in India, we see a lot of those.
Really?
Yeah. But
Okay.
here, I would say it's relatively rare.
Oh, wow. And so some of it might be because of
Better hygiene
getting
and
it
oral
right.
hygiene, especially oral cavity. When you talk about head and neck cancers, you're talking about cancers of the mouth, throat, neck, that area.
Wow.
And a lot of that is related to, it could still be HPV infection, but smoking, then tobacco, chewing of tobacco,
Right.
and habits like that.
Okay. Okay.
And here we have, of course, the PAP smears, the
Yeah.
screening is
So
quite
that-
robust. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a less affluent society. Maybe it's a luxury. It's,
Yeah,
afford
probably.
to do that.
Yeah, and more higher incidence of HPV infections in those
Okay.
societies too. So
Okay. Is it
those are
maybe because it's not as accessible as well? Maybe it's
awareness,
it's far
accessible.
away also, and trying to get right.
I would say awareness,
Okay.
less awareness about these screening tests. So,
Okay.
those kind of, there's a difference in, but as I always say, we really do not have any robust data, accurate data for Cayman, because we do not have a hospital-based cancer registry. So
Right.
the cancer registry that we have is voluntary, so the patients, if they would like to, there's a
Right.
form they fill out and they contact the cancer registrar.
Right.
So the data is almost is incomplete. So we cannot really say, hey, this is a cancer, or we think breast cancer is the highest incidence, or maybe even prostate could even be prostate cancer.
Yeah.
But we do not have the numbers to say this is the cancer with the highest incidence in Cayman, or this many patients per year. We do not have this data.
Right. But it does sound like Tiffany, putting some more vegetables in your diet might not be a bad thing, though.
Yes, and I know if Jennifer was here, she probably would have segued into the theme of this dinner was spice,
A
Scotch
spice
bonnet.
Cayman.
It was a spicy Cayman and Scotch bonnet because I don't know, I'll have to ask Dr. Benita, but I've heard that adding a lot of spice sometimes to your vegetables and stuff is good for you. Maybe that's the layman's
Is that
the
so?
layman's term. I don't know if it's really so or not.
when it comes to cancers, actually most spice may be harmful sometimes.
So listening audience, delete what Tiffany just said. Thank you.
Get the hot sauce out of your bag.
Not really directly that way, but
Yeah. So 'cause sometimes there are myths, and people really kind of get caught up in that. Now, I have a question before we go to break. This is a very good question. And if I just say so myself.
say today.
What about, not yet, we're coming back, we have to get you back on it. What about sour sop? Is soursop connected to, because I've done so much reading. 'Cause my dad actually had cancer. He passed away, I think 4 years ago this year, and so we did a lot of reading about just natural things to take. And one thing that we kept stumbling upon is the soursop, what we call the soursop. But apparently, like some form of chemo is extracted from the cell. Is that not true? Because we were reading that
Yeah,
somewhere.
I agree. It's a good fruit. It's a healthy fruit with a lot of good antioxidants and all that. But for when a cancer cell is a monster cell.
Okay.
So it's not like it's not like a regular cell. It has attained so many mutations that it's behaving like a monster.
Right.
I do not think the ingredients in soursop is enough
Right.
to deal with such a monster.
Right.
For that, you need, definitely it's not a replacement for chemo, but it might, help nourish you from within and help you, tolerate
Yeah.
the chemo better.
Yeah.
I never say no when patients want to take, the tea leaf,
Right.
soursop leaf tea,
Right.
or the vegetable or the smoothie or anything.
Right.
Because I know I myself enjoy a good smoothie at times.
Right. Right.
But if someone uses that as a sole way
Yeah.
of fighting a cancer, we have seen lost battles when stage one cancers
Yeah.
have gone to just dietary manipulation and management and has become stage four and has actually taken lives.
Yes. Well, that's what I was thinking too when I would see that. I was thinking the amount that you probably have to. It's not even humanly possible, like to really combat. Because I didn't understand the whole, like you said, monster. So, but I kind of thought, I don't think like one sour sop or a couple of cups of tea is really going to be the thing. Because if that were so, we'd have the problem solved, wouldn't we? Yeah. So, but like you said, adding something healthy to your diet is not going to hurt you for
It's like
sure.
turmeric. Turmeric, you have inside some scientific studies, they have used turmeric in very high doses, and but on cell lines, cancer cell lines, and have seen them die. But it's impossible humanly to consume
Right,
that dose of turmeric
right,
in your body. You cannot ingest. It's in grams and grams and grams of turmeric.
right, right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we will be back with more. You are listening to your Straight Talk Drive at 5 show. This is Medical Mondays. We are talking to Tiffany Dixon Banks, the Global Sales and Marketing Manager, along with Dr. Benita Benoit, who's the consultant medical oncologist for Health City. And yeah, we're just chatting kind of all things cancer, the cancer drivers, dinner that Health City sponsors. And we'll continue the conversation. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more right after these messages.
different without Jennifer.
You know? She always has beautiful anecdotes and stories.
And then
Fits
because
in.
so many patients are coming to them, you know,
Yeah.
it's different from a hospital setting.
Right.
So she brings a different dynamic to it's interesting.
And welcome back to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It is Monday, and that's Medical Mondays brought to you by Health City. And I am joined in the studio by, with uh, uh, Tiffany Dixon Ebanks, who is the Sales and Marketing Manager, as well as Dr. Vanitha Benoy, the Consultant Medical Oncologist at Health City. And we were just talking about just cancer overall in our community, and just celebrating the thrivers as opposed to the survivors. So if you happen to be a survivor, a thriver, well, yeah, we're just happy that you are still with us, and you are just doing everything in your power to take care of yourself, right? Because I think that's what's important as well. You can't control what goes on outside, but you can control what goes on inside. Almost, it's like a little bit, right? Yeah. And just making those lifestyle changes that are necessary are sometimes a good thing. It's not, not the easiest thing. I gave up Snickers. That was tough. That was very tough. Yeah, I did the executive health check, and got the whole high cholesterol story. So it was a whole lot of things that I was like, all right, and stop with the milk and the cheese and the, chocolate. And it's all right. It's okay. So sometimes you make the changes, but if it's necessary for your health, why not, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Moderation is a key word, actually. You don't have to really abandon everything you love.
I can have a Snicker.
Once in a while.
Thank you.
Straight from the doctor.
Thank you. Knowing me, I might want more than one. Used to have one a day. That could be a problem, right?
That's a problem.
She's like, no, stop it. Okay, for real. So yeah, and I think we were talking a little bit during the break that to just start chatting about how things have changed a little bit, maybe a lot because of the pandemic, and what the country looks like, and how you've had to adjust, because I'm sure everybody had to make those adjustments. I mean, at one point, we were not even like, walking freely as we are right now. So things must have changed for Health City during that time. Yes.
Yeah, so I must say, actually, beginning itself, I should say that we are actually blessed to be living in Cayman, where you're able to walk around, like, you and me can
Right.
sit across a desk and chat. While I know my parents in India have been, locked up in their house for almost 15 months now.
Wow.
So we are indeed blessed that we have the freedom, and we have got the vaccines available. We've got the situation under control here. So the reality of the pandemic is not really, hitting us the way a lot of people have been affected around the world.
Right.
So indeed thankful for that. But the first COVID patient was in Health City, and we didn't go through a lot of tough times after that patient passed away. So the whole
Right.
hospital had to be shut down for 2 weeks. And from there, the trouble started with, with the biggest worry was, what do we do with my patients who are getting chemotherapy?
Right.
They have to get it. We didn't know for how long the hospital was going to be closed.
Right.
So they have to, what will happen to them. But here, the mankind comes in, and the team at HSA, they're very helpful. Thanks to them,
That's
they managed my patients the time Health City was under lockdown.
Oh, great.
So thanks to a big shout to their team, Dr. Richards and everybody else who looked after our patients.
Yeah.
And then when we opened up, there were again the strict regulations, so patients could come only one at a time, no attenders allowed. And it was very difficult, screening all the COVID swabs and jabs and additional precautions. But somehow we managed to make sure that those people got their treatments on time. The
Right.
biggest worry was the drugs, the availability of drugs. So
Right.
flights were cancelled, and we did not have enough. The logistics went haywire. So we
Yeah.
were scrambling to find enough resources. And the biggest problem was when the patients had to go away to the States for radiation or for some kind of niche surgery, like robotic surgery. We
Right.
had patients waiting for flights. Then patients who went ahead and their surgeries got cancelled because of the situation in the States. And everything has been a nightmare, logistical nightmare.
Right.
I had patients staying in the States for 4 months just to get a surgery done and then coming back again quarantine. So it's been a nightmare throughout. And this, you should remember, this is an additional stress to people who are already going through one of the toughest periods of their life.
Right.
So it's not easy to start with, and COVID has made it even more difficult.
Right.
So various challenges, and I would say at the time when we had the lockdown, a lot of patients could not go for their screening mammograms. A lot of people were afraid to go to the doctor. So I had, when we opened up in May, June, we had a spate of late cancers, diagnosis of advanced cancers,
Oh wow.
breast
Okay.
cancer, endometrial cancers, who were not going to the doctor during the lockdown. So in the 3 months that we were kind of, uh, the cancer progressed.
Wow.
At least three patients I had, I had to, look after them.
Yeah. So had they been able to come out, chances are you would have been able to treat it and it would have.
Diagnose them early.
Okay.
So, but since then, since the lockdown eased, I mean, we've got more or less the same, because restrictions were in place for a long time. But now we are kind of, now we are almost back to the previous. And most of my patients have been vaccinated. We encourage vaccination. So I think, but some of the logistic nightmares still exist in terms of quarantine, come back. And of course, drug supply, it's always been a problem. So what the drugs, we always have to buy the drugs from overseas, and what took us 2 weeks is now taking 4 weeks, 6 weeks sometimes.
Yeah.
But again, we all pitch in the different hospitals, we all come together and we share our resources. So we're always there for each other. So
Yeah.
it has brought us all together.
I think that's great, and I think that's probably a bit different in larger places that you'd see two hospitals working together like that. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. I always think it's too small to burn bridges because we burn bridges, we can't get to the other side, and the other side is like right there. You can see it. So it's really good. I think that's awesome to hear. And what was a priority was the care of the patients. That's what mattered the most. Yeah. Now, Tiffany, you were going to tell us about how accessible Dr. Vinitha is to everybody now, also. So, with all of your expansion.
Yes, and I'm glad that Dr. Vanitha shared that because, working in a hospital, we're in the back, we're not dealing with the patients like Dr. Vanitha is. So I'm learning a little bit today as well. So thank you for that, the background information as well. But we have embarked on, the leadership of Health City has embarked on an expansion campaign. We want to be within the reach of the local community. We opened our Kim and Brack clinic in March this year, and we have recently opened our Camana Bay clinic. Coincidentally, this week on Thursday, we are celebrating the grand opening of that clinic with a chamber business after hours event at Camana Bay. But Dr. Vinitha is available. So whilst also being at East End, so those who live closer by that location, they can still come to see her there. She's also at the Camana Bay Clinic every Tuesday now and every other Saturday.
Okay.
Right? So just keep that schedule in mind. Those of you who probably live in West Bay or closer to the Camana Bay clinic site, that you can reach her there, especially if you are really doing a follow-up where there's probably no additional testing that needs to be done. The Camana Bay Clinic has a lab, and there's ECG capabilities and echocardiogram capabilities, but if you have to do any additional type of therapies and so on, that's not yet available at Camana Bay Clinic.
Okay.
I think Dr. Vinitha did mention that when we do open up our other hospital, Health City Camana Bay, that's when the full suite of cancer treatment will be made available.
Okay.
And so for now, we just have to be patient, but the knowledge of Dr. Vinitha goes a far way. and being a part of the marketing and business development unit where, we are promoting the skills of our doctors or nurses or technicians and so on. They're the ones that are going out there and taking care of patients, taking care of different illnesses, making persons well and saving lives.
Okay.
And
Yep.
so it would be remiss of me to not just share with you, Catherine, and then thank you, Dr. Benito, for being a great medical oncologist. She has been here for 7 years, but with 15 plus years experience in the field of oncology. That's a blessing for us at Health City and a blessing for the Cayman Islands.
Okay. Absolutely.
So I just want to say hats off. Some of the feedback comes directly to the marketing team. So I'll tell you, Dr. Benito, that there are patients who come back to us and say, wow, I just want to go to Dr. Benito and nobody else,
Okay. That's good.
ever again. So it just speaks to the level of care. It's compassionate care. It's that attention to the patient. And there's some, a doctor is a doctor, but when you hear the feedback from patients on that certain level of, I guess you call it kind of like the it factor for a doctor. I don't know how else to say it.
Right.
Dr. Benita has that.
All right. Okay. All right. And she says it's all the doctors. Love you all because you're all awesome. Just gotta tell you. No, absolutely. And so I think for a person to really just have the confidence that if they when they come to Health City and
Yes.
from diagnosis onward, they can have a continuity of care and treatment. And the only thing that's not available at this time on island is radiation treatment, right?
Yeah, but and some of the niche, so there are certain other advanced technologies, like for example, some kind of immunotherapy, robotic surgeries. But we are planning to get robotic surgery, soon in
Okay.
our Health City Commander Bay Hospital. So at the moment, yeah, I wish our radiation center had opened up in 2019 as
Right.
planned.
But
We
it's
had the
coming.
groundbreaking, but then COVID has kind of
Yeah.
changed all the plans.
Mhm.
But soon.
Right. Yeah. Soon comes. You've been here 7 years. Soon come. But for real, right? And so but just to be confident that you're handling all of that. So and I think that that's why people say I only want to go to this one doctor because I think people don't want to be passed around to different people, right? Obviously, it's something, and something like cancer, it's very scary, right?
Mhm.
It is like it's my life I'm talking about, and I want to be reassured. I want to at least get the very best care that I can and give myself a shot while I'm fighting. You know what I mean? So I think, and that's one of the reasons. So kudos to you as well. Hats off to you for that because I'm very happy that that's what's available now, in Camana Bay, Tiffany, can uh, I guess are patients able to get executive health checks there, or is that still at East End?
Yes, so the full suite for the executive health check, because that involves further testing, diagnostics, and everything else
Everything
that
that's
goes
there.
along with it, that's available at the hospital setting. So that's not available at Kamana Bay now. What we're really doing is consultations with the doctors, so you can set appointments for that. You can do lab work also at the Kamana Bay Clinic. So yes, for the full suite of diagnostic checks and all of that you want to check your entire body out,
Right.
that is only available at the East End facility at this point in time.
Okay. All right. Now, I think you all should dedicate a day to kind of talk about that executive health check, just to talk about all of the things that happen there because I think it's brilliant. I mean,
Yes.
in what the last 20 years, I don't know if I've heard of one institution that is doing something so comprehensive, literally, no pun intended, right?
Comprehensive.
Yeah, an absolute comprehensive check of your entire body, right? And you can add on stuff as well because a lot of times, you want to know what's happening with you, but you don't know what test to get. So you might get this, you might get that, but you all have it so situated. And not only is it good for business, which you're in the business of healthcare, but it's good for the patient. It's good for the customer. And I think that it's something that everybody here's summer coming up. This is a good time to talk about it so people can get in and get that done so that they can see what's happening in their body. And if there's something that they need to do, that they're able to do it before something else happens, that maybe it's too late or it's gone too far and now you have to take medication, you know, because my the doctor was very impressed that I was able to bring down my cholesterol without medication. And so I make the joke about it all the time because he's sitting there. He goes, "You did this without medication. I need to try this stuff. What did you do?" And I'm like, "Hey, like, wow!" He was so impressed. And so I was like, "Isn't that what I'm supposed to do?" You know, but just being able to be in contact with people that can tell you what's going on with your body, because you know, this is our most important treasure here, and we can have all the money in the world, we can have all the position, we can have, you know, all the material stuff, and if we're not doing okay, if our body is broken down or, you know, falling apart, we can't even enjoy that stuff, can we? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think the quote that you started off today's program with is very fitting. Do you have it in front of you
Yeah,
still?
healthy citizens
Hmm.
are the greatest asset any country can have.
Right.
Absolutely.
I
Because
think that,
imagine unhealthy citizens, what that means to a country.
yeah. So you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of other people. So your family that's relying on you, mommy, daddy,
Yep.
right? Um, so with regards to the executive health check, and we would be happy to come on and have a dedicated show just to talk
I
about
think it would be
all the
great.
different diagnostic tests that go through that. However, since we're not doing that today, if anybody is interested in learning more about it, we actually have a section on our website that details. If you go to Health City Cayman Islands and then go in the search and just type executive health check, it will pop up,
Right.
right? So there's a section that shows you what the standard executive health check is. It kind of checkpoints, bullet list, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then if you go, you have different levels. You have the comprehensive, then you have the cardiac.
Right.
So there are different levels where you
Right.
can do additional testing as
Right.
well.
Right.
And there is a little brochure. After you read those and you click on download the brochure then has the fine print,
Right.
the things that the doctors will talk about.
Right.
And so it's all accessible. It's within your reach. As
Right.
long as you have a computer, you can put that in. Um, or if you have an additional question that you're not able to answer by just browsing our website, just send us an email to info@healthcity.ky and we'll help you with that.
Right, right. I mean, it's my reasoning was I saw a friend and she had lost all this weight and she looked amazing. I was like, oh my goodness, what have you done? She was, girl, I had to help. And so it was that was the reason. And she's like, let me tell you. I saw a nutritionist and they told me some of the things that I shouldn't be eating and some of the things that I wasn't feeling my best. And so it was just seeing someone who, you know, looked really well and just, you know, what are you doing? Okay, so maybe I should check it out. You should check it out. And so it was like word of mouth, you know, but it was really just very, very necessary. So I think, yeah, you can check that out online. And if you have insurance, your insurance will cover it, right? So say you have insurance and you're
Yes.
paying 20% copay,
Right.
then it'll be, you know, it's just a couple of $100, which would be awesome for you to
Yes.
invest in yourself.
Yeah, and it depends on the coverage that you have. So just check with your specific policy.
Mine didn't cover it all because I had
Yours
to,
didn't cover it.
I had to pay cash because I have because I'm self-employed, so I
Mhm.
have like a very, you know. But generally, people who work for companies and stuff, they
Mhm.
have great insurance. That's one thing I miss about being self-employed.
Yeah.
It's
And so
bare
I
minimum.
just went to the web page that I was talking about. So I can tell you when you go to that page, there's a section you can click. It says learn more about these services.
Okay.
And once you click on that, it will give you the breakdown of
Okay.
everything.
There you
Yeah.
go. So, Dr. Benita, how often do you get home?
Home here
Yeah,
or
no.
home in India?
Now you know that's a question. She's like, I don't even go to sleep. Well, I hope you see your house here
Yeah, I
sometimes.
do. I do. Yeah. So Before the pandemic, I was going home seeing my parents every 6 months,
Okay.
but
Wow. Okay.
not gone in 2 years now.
Yeah. Okay.
Hoping to go this summer, hopefully, but I'm not really sure about, we don't have flights
This
and
summer,
lockdown. Yeah, yeah.
this one that we're in now. Okay. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed.
Fingers
All
crossed
right.
for
This
Dr.
one.
Benita.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Well, I can still dream and hope.
Right, because that's why I'm like, huh? When? Okay, that's good. So
Yeah.
about 2 years then.
2 years.
So
And
that's a long time.
yeah, I don't think my parents would have let me come, if they knew this was going to happen.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess it's difficult times for everyone.
Yeah, and you're saying they're closed down in India, like literally.
The
Are they
sense
able to get out at some time?
they did at some point when the third wave or second wave hit, and they've been pretty much confined to their house like last 15 months
Okay.
almost. So everything over Zoom, everything delivered.
Right.
It's
Right.
been very difficult for them.
Now that's interesting, just mentioning Zoom because that's the one thing that you really can't do as a doctor, right? You know what I mean? Like your services would have to be limited. So opening back up and being able to see your patients is crucial for what you do.
Yeah, to an extent, but you know what the pandemic has, made us realize is that a lot of healthcare can be managed virtually. Like telehealth has seen a
Yes.
big boom. So in fact, I spoke on this topic for the last, the healthcare conference
Okay.
in October. So when we were at a lockdown, the hospital was shut. We used these modalities to keep in touch. So obviously phone calls. And the point when I was getting a lot of overseas patients too. So I've
Okay.
had to remain in touch with them through virtual visits and video call, WhatsApp, whatever it is. But even with specialists overseas now, like Zoom has, or one of those virtual consultation platforms, have become an important tool in maintaining that continuum of care.
Okay.
But not all institutions offer that. But I think there have been a lot of easing up of payment regulations for
Right.
these virtual consults, making it a lot easier. So even now, I think, but it's come down to a great extent, but we do have some tele visits for follow-up
Yes. Okay.
for
All
patients who
right.
can't come to East End, but obviously it doesn't, we need that touch
Right.
and the face-to-face interaction. A lot of people prefer to come and see in person.
Of course. Yeah.
It's quite impersonal when it's over. The virtual visit can be quite impersonal, but
For sure.
it's not a replacement, but it's definitely a way to stay in touch.
Yeah, you've been able to use it as a good resource.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think we found a lot of things that we were able to do that we didn't know we could do before, and reach out and speak to somebody so far away, and kind of have all these people in one room together.
Right.
So the benefits of that have really
Yeah.
been very good.
And even the medical updates and the conferences, you now do all these virtually.
Mhm.
Even the biggest of all conferences where we are booking 3 flights to go to,
Right.
I spend a week. Now we
Exactly.
get everything in our living room. So
Yeah.
that's been a blessing. And, in many ways, I think we thankful this pandemic happened at this time when we had
Yes.
the technology.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
It's true. And going forward, it's something that you can continue with certain aspects of it. I mean, because even costs, right? Costs involved would be so different, and you do have to go to a conference wherein now you can just be home or in your office or something. So, what do you think in terms of the future, like the future of of oncology, or just kind of cancer treatments here in Cayman?
Right. So it has changed a lot in the last 20 years, I would say at the turn of the century. And when I was training, what I found, the results are much, much, much better now. We do not treat all cancers as the same. So we have now reached a phase of what you call personalized cancer medicine. So not all breast cancers are the same. Not all colon cancers are the same. Sometimes a person with breast cancer and colon cancer are treated with the same drug based on what molecular mutation they have. So it's all dependent on what is the kind of tumor or cancer that the patient has. So we go into what is called precision medicine.
Okay.
So one size does not fit all cancers. So each time, it's important for us to get the tissue biopsy and analyze the kind of cancer, find out the molecular markers in the cancer, and see which is the best treatment for them. So there's no blanket chemotherapy.
Okay.
There is no blanket whatever we used to give before. It's all different for each patient. So that's why we have a personalized treatment plan for each cancer.
Okay.
And as I said, not all breast cancers are the same, not all one type. There's nothing like that. Everything
Right.
is treated differently.
Okay.
And that has led to improved outcomes. And the key word now is immunotherapy.
Right.
So that's the thing that's propelling the future of cancer treatment.
Okay.
So immunotherapy is a modality of treatment whereby we use our own immunity to fight the cancer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
instead of using chemo, which is a cell poison, we use our own immune cells to fight cancers and kill cancers.
So you're doing that more now
Yes.
than the kind
Right.
of killing of the cells.
Yeah, and we
Because
are
you get
fighting.
killing good cells as well, right?
Yeah, with chemo, you have kind of there is no discrimination, so good and bad cells get destroyed. Um, but immunotherapy, we do. It's not like it's not without side effects. But with immunotherapy, we have made a lot of advances, good results in treating stage 4 malignancies. People are living longer
Okay.
with immunotherapy.
Yeah. And so and that's some of you've done some kind of stem cell work as well. That's also involved with that.
That was during my training in hematology. So we
Okay.
do not have that facility here. So bone marrow stem cell transplantation is not something we have right now in Cayman, but that's something for the future for Health City
Okay.
Commander.
All right. So what's the difference you think? This is my last question. What's the difference 7 years ago to now in Cayman? Is there a difference? What
I
are the
would,
improvements? What are
yeah, I think Jennifer should have answered this question because
okay?
she was telling me earlier that when she's been here 10 years, and when she started off with Cancer Society, most patients were going overseas. The Cancer Society was paying patients to go overseas for everything,
Right.
including chemotherapy, surgeries.
Yeah,
Now I would
definitely.
say almost all kinds of chemotherapies and most immunotherapies can be done here.
Okay.
Yes.
And they need to go overseas only for certain specialized treatments,
Okay.
like specialized surgeries or radiation.
Okay.
We're proud to say that we do have, I'm not just in Health City, but also in HSA,
Right.
the other facilities that we are able to support the needs. And that's how the lockdown, I would say, did not create too much of a disturbance in the lives of cancer patients because we were able to provide many of those services on island.
Right. So last question. Sorry. So in terms of chemo versus can a patient choose, or is it that you choose what can work with that particular case?
Right. So
Okay.
we choose for some cancers immunotherapy works. Sometimes it's a combination, what they call chemo immunotherapy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's an
That was a good
exciting field.
question. It sounds exciting. It's just having a conversation with you is pretty exciting. I mean, I'm learning a lot, and but I still stick with the, listen to your doctor, right? Like get in contact with your doctor, find out what's going on with yourself, listen to your doctor, try to make those changes. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me this afternoon. It has really, really been a pleasure meeting you as well as talking with you this afternoon, Dr. Benita. And also, thanks once again for what you're doing for our community. We really appreciate it. And Tiffany for bringing tidings.
Tidings of great joy from the East.
Bringing, through the three wise women
Yes.
in the studio today. Thank you all so much, too, for tuning in. We can't do it without you. Appreciate that. This is your Straight Talk Drive 5 show. And, this was Medical Mondays. It was brought to you by Health City. We shall talk with you again tomorrow when it will be Hot Topics Tuesdays. You guys take care and have a great evening. Thank you, ladies, once again. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay? All right.